Have you ever felt like the fire that you once had for leading is barely even a spark? Like the passion that you once carried, the energy that you once exuded is no more because you feel drained, exhausted, overwhelmed, and just ready to throw in the towel. If you've answered yes to any of this, then this video is for you. You want to watch this in its entirety as I break down why leaders lose their passion and how you can intentionally regain your passion with this one tip. You do this one thing and it will transform how you feel about leading, and it will transform how you show up as a leader. As a leader, you are responsible for setting the tone, for carrying the culture, and for creating and crafting this environment that exudes strength. And when I say it exudes strength, it's a place where people want to be. Nobody wants to be in a weak place. Nobody wants to be in a place that seems unwelcoming, in a place that seems like it's dying. And when you as a leader lose your passion, what happens is those that you are leading feel that thing. They experience it. Now, I'm not speaking from theory. I'm not talking about something I've read. I'm talking about something I have lived. I have lived as a leader who has lost passion for the work that I have done. As an executive in an organization, I'm talking specifically to executives, those in high positions where you have people who are leading teams reporting to you, and the leaders of those teams need to see the very best out of you, but yet your passion is waning. You enjoy the direct reports that are reporting to you, but you are struggling with the relationship that you and your direct leader have. Or you and your direct leader have a great relationship, but you are struggling with the relationship that you have with your direct reports. I'm talking about the executive who's in between a rock and a hard place. You love what you do technically, but yet you are drained physically every time you enter into that space because the people aspect on either side of the fence is draining you. As you watch this video, I want you to grab a pen and a paper, and I want you to take notes. I want you to really digest this information and be deliberate about discovering this thing in you. Back in 2012, I took over a district. And in taking over this district, I was pre-warned about 2 managers that I would encounter who would give me a run for my money. Now, I don't have a lot of quit in me. And so I was excited to be taking over this district. I was excited to meet these ladies. I was excited to turn some things around. I was excited to make a dent and make an improvement. And when I first met these women, it seemed like it was going to be glorious. It seemed like, okay, they're not what I've been told that they are. We're going to work together. We're going to see some results. But as time went on, can I tell you, all hell broke loose. I remember being at my home, on my couch, crying. And I remember desiring to be connected to someone who could lead me out of this wilderness place. Because I didn't have anyone in my organization who could relate to what I was experiencing. They could not necessarily relate to this hard place. There was no trainings that I had actually gone through within my organization that taught me how to deal with two managers ganging up on me, that taught me how to deal with a direct leader who knew I had never experienced anything like this. He knew the character of these two women, but yet he was afar off. He was distant. He knew that this was my first experience with something like this, but yet he said, let me see what you're going to do. And I remember as the situation got intense, hyper intense, then he wanted to swoop in. Then he wanted to step in. And I remember as things came to a head and it got crazy, as things got really crazy, I remember him saying to me that he should have done some things a little bit differently. He should have supported me in a different way. But he just did not know how in that moment. And so he acknowledged where he dropped the ball with me, but yet he continued to handle me in the same way. I loved what I did, but I just didn't enjoy it with the people I was working with. Have you ever been there? Like, you enjoy what you do, but the people you do it with, it's not enjoyable. It's no longer a place of fulfillment. I was in that place. I was in a place where I was distressed. I was distraught. I would dread going to work so bad. And I just wanted to check out. And I remember having a conversation with my pastor, and then I had a conversation with one of the supervisor's wife. He was like on the same level as I was in the organization, and we had this holiday party. And I remember having a conversation with her, and both my pastor and this wife said, "You will not quit." Baby, I was checked out. I was ready to go. My bags were packed. And they both told me, "You will not quit." And I remember thinking to myself, why? Why would they not want me to quit this place? It is literally hell on earth. Why would they not want me to leave a place that's killing me? It's like eating me from the inside out. It was not a good culture fit for me, because the way that they thought about their employees, their managers, was just not the way that I thought about people. It just wasn't the way that I wanted to view the people that I was leading. But it was the most money I had ever made in my life. I had left a job and it was like a 32% pay raise. I was in control of my own schedule, so I could map out when I showed up. I did not have a direct leader with me every moment of the day, so I thought I could be me. Little did I know that micromanagement does not always show up the same way. It does not always present in the same way. And the end result, though, will be the same. When you are micromanaged as a leader, what happens is you begin to second guess how you do a thing. And what you would do, you won't do, because you're thinking about, whether consciously or subconsciously. Listen up. If you didn't know, at the end of this month, whenever you're watching this, I'm hosting a leadership challenge, a 5-day leadership challenge, the Inspire, Influence, and Impact Leadership Challenge. And this is not your typical event. This is 5 days of live coaching with me. And here's the kicker. If you get a VIP ticket, I'll personally answer your questions. This is your opportunity to get direct access to the strategies and mindset shifts that can transform your leadership and your life. Don't let 2025 be like every other year. Don't let 2025 be like every other moment where you felt defeated on your leadership journey. Listen, people have experienced transformation being with me for an hour in a virtual room. Imagine what can change in your life if you join this 5-day challenge and we crack your leadership code and take your specific challenges head on. Check out the challenge information, grab your VIP ticket, and I'll see you in the room. Have a great day. Whether consciously or subconsciously, you're thinking about the person who's going to see the end result. You're thinking about your direct leader, the person who's going to critique the thing that you are doing. And I remember not even realizing that I was making decisions based off of what my boss thought. And even when I made decisions based off of what he thought, he still was never pleased. It was still never good enough. And I worked like this for years until I got to a place where I realized I can be miserable working, thinking, overanalyzing what he wants, or I could just show up as me. I'm going to say that again. I did this for years. And when I say years, probably 5 or 6 years, I did this, performing in a way that was contrary to a decision that I would make. I would second guess the things that I was doing because I had a manager who was micromanaging me, but yet it was at a distance. Now, how do you micromanage at a distance? When I present what I want to do, you have thoughts on why I should do it differently. The way that you ask questions, you're kind of leading me to the answer that you want me to choose. You're doing it in a way where you're also creating this hostile work environment where I'm dreading your phone calls. I'm dreading conversations with you. I am dreading every interaction I have with you. And it's influencing how I lead. Right? So it was not a great place to be mentally, emotionally, or physically. But it was a place that groomed me to make a decision to show up as me, right? And so I decided years into it that I could not continue to put on the show. Because regardless of how I put on the show, he was never pleased with the end result. And so I discovered that I was leading from a place of fear. Now, if you have ever led from a place of fear, I want you to comment below. I've done that too. I've led from a place of fear. Because here's what fear will do. Fear will mute you. There were many moments where I remained silent. Fear will manipulate you. There were many times where I made decisions that I would not ordinarily, there were many times where I made decisions that I would not ordinarily make because I knew somebody was watching. And fear will cause you not to take risks that you ordinarily would take to get results that you know you're capable of. And so as I'm consumed in fear, as I'm overwhelmed and pressured under the place of fear, I'm not showing up as the best version of myself. And I have utterly lost passion for leading. I actually begin to think, you know what? I don't have to lead anymore. I can just be an individual contributor somewhere. And as I show up as this individual contributor, I don't need to be responsible for no thing, nothing, no one. I just want to be responsible for me. But even that thought pattern began to eat me up because I was born to lead. I was telling myself to become someone I wasn't because of the circumstances that I was currently in. And so I had to sit down and take inventory and really discover, like, is this what you want? Do you want to lead, or do you want to let this all go? Because you've lost your passion for this. You don't want to be here. You dread coming to work. You're over it. But when I began to see how terrified I was, I had to put a stop to it. I had to put a stop to feeling like my very existence in that workplace was unimportant. My very existence in that workplace was disruptive. I had to stop feeling that way. And I had to start believing that what I thought mattered and how I did a thing made a difference. Now, when I reminded myself of how great a leader I was and how leadership was in my DNA, like I was called from my mother's womb a leader. When the Lord planted me in there, he called me a leader, right? Like that was a promise on my life. When I was reminded of that, I led differently. I listened differently. I got results differently. So if you have lost passion, it could be because you are afraid in the place that you are in. You're fearful, and this fear is showing up and it is gripping you. Now, when I say you're afraid of the conversations you're going to have. Like, these are not things that you're making up in your brain. You will literally end up having a conversation, having a sit down, being brought into the office. Like, you're literally going to be engaged in this way. Not because you're not excellent at what you do, but because of the opinion of another. And I remember having to go back and forth, almost like an argument. And I hated that. I hated it. And we would go back and forth like an argument. And then he would say, oh, you know what? I agree with you there. I'll give you that. Like, why? Why do we have to do this? This makes no sense. And so I lost passion for where I was. But when I realized you can't let that rule you, you can't let that run you, you can't let that be the reason why you stop being you. I shifted the trajectory of what I was doing, and I began to distance myself from the identity that I had put up before, and I began to show up as authentically me. If you want to question what I'm doing, you can ask as many questions as you want, but it won't change my course of action. It won't alter what I'm doing because I stand by my results. I began to regain this passion for what I was doing because I began to believe in me. So number one, you have to address the fear that's coming for you, right? Examine the fear, address the fear, silence the fear. And to determine who you are going to be, take the mask off, allow yourself to stand in your authority as a leader, regardless of whether it is to your direct reports or to your direct leader. And then I want you to shine. Go out there believing in the version of you that you are becoming. Go out there believing that tomorrow you'll be better than you were today. And that despite any challenges, any obstacles that present themselves, you are excellent at what you do. Listen, if this video helped you in any way, comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. I'll see you in another video. Bye.